technical flub there on my first show back after a 2.5-week break. I hope I'll catch up what I said earlier, but always something here on the JR the Handler Show. Thanks everybody for tuning in again this week. I just did an intro and did not push record, so I'm going to try to go back and clean that up later possibly. If not, this may be the start of the show. Not sure yet. But I won't waste any more of my guest time because he is already on the Zoom machine. I'm so pumped about this. This is a friend of mine I've known for a very long time. Just a great human being, great entertainer, and he is now a tour manager. For the longest, he put down the fiddle and bow to now be a tour manager, step over in the ranks with us. Don't know why he got that crazy idea, but I'm sure he'll get into it with us here in a little while. But my guest today on the JR the Handler Show is none other, y'all, than my buddy, my pal, Mr. Justin David. How are you, brother?
Hey, man, what's up? I'm doing great. Can you hear me? Is my audio going on? Have we got all that stuff good?
Yeah, I got you. I think we're okay. I can hear you. You look great, if nothing else, for sure.
Yeah, well, electricity, it's like Roy Clark used to tell me, electricity is just a fad. You know, it's not going to be around forever. Roy always said the best guitar he ever had was a kerosene model, but it only had one drawback. He couldn't pick too fast on it or it kept blowing out the pilot light. Chink.
The great wisdom from Mr. Roy Clark. Well, that's a good job. Well, first, how are you, brother? You good? Everything good?
Doing great, JR, man. Thanks for having me on here. Always good to spend a little time with you.
Yes, sir, man. And are you back home in Missouri or are you in Tennessee?
I'm in Tennessee at the moment. Flew back in last night after some West Coast shows, and hey, we've got the day off and getting ready to hit it again tomorrow. So you know the drill there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking for a second before you came on, I was like, I wonder if he's coming from Missouri or Tennessee, because last week's I had two guests on at the same time by surprise, were both coming from Missouri. And I thought, wouldn't that be something if I did a back-to-back episodes from Missouri? But I got you in Tennessee. I figured you would. I know you split time. I had Ethan and Troy Strunk on last week. Ethan is Luke Combs' tour manager, and Troy's with Kojo now.
Nice.
And they're St. Louis area guys. And you're more southern Missouri. You're more like Branson area, right?
Yeah, we're down in the Ozarks, right outside of Springfield, Missouri. So
that's right.
That's where we spend our time when we're back on the farm in Missouri.
I love it. Yeah, and that's not far from – shout out to one of my favorite touring buddies of all time, Josh Cross, Justin's old guitar player, who's from that neck of the woods.
You know, I shared some text a few months ago with Josh. He was trying to get rid of some mules, so I was trying to figure out how we could rehome these mules with him. So I don't know, Josh, if you're listening, I hope your mules found a new home.
Oh man, there's a story there. I'm sure that's great. Yeah. I thought we text some. Josh is doing great. I miss that guy on the road. He always spoke and thought so fondly of you. He said when he was coming up, Justin David was the guy. You know, so he was always enjoyed sharing a stage with you. And I got a couple of background stories on that. But we'll jump into it. You know, I don't know. Have you ever done a podcast before, Justin?
You know, I can't. If I have, I can't remember it. So
I know you've done plenty of radio spots and played on television shows and all that kind of stuff. But the podcast thing is still kind of a new format, especially for most of us hillbillies. You know, we're catching up to the rest of it. But it's a little different deal. It's fun. I like it because there's no producer over there telling us you got to start and you got to stop and you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. So we can go as little or as long as we want. But I wanted to get on there. On this show, normally we do like an origin story type thing, like because most people don't know. They'll ask somebody on the road, well, how'd you get into this business? Or how'd you get into that job? You know, and it's never just a 1, 2, 3 type deal. It's always a never thought in a million years this happened, crazy happenstance, something or another. So I guess we'll go there first because that is interesting. Growing up outside of Springfield, Missouri, near Branson, Missouri, which is a hub of just great music and entertainment in the Ozark area. A lot of people in our part of the world and all over the country and world for that matter go to Branson, Missouri to see these shows and have for decades now. And you grew up not far from there. So what was that like? Did family in the business, or does that just happen to be where you were from?
Well, we'll take it all the way back to where it all began. And yeah, so to answer your question, it was totally family oriented. My granddad and had a mandolin over his mantle. And, and at 4 and 5 years old, I was asking the questions, hey, what is that? And he got it down off the mantle and tuned it up, showed me how to play it, showed me a couple tunes. And I happened to have a knack with it. And on my 5th birthday, my grandparents gave me that mandolin as a 5-year-old for a birthday gift. And the rest is kind of history, I guess. But I started playing and messing around with it. And obviously everybody in the family knew that I had a knack to do that. And my dad would sit down at the kitchen table, and he couldn't really play anything, but he'd whistle old fiddle tunes for me and that he knew. And I would mimic those on the mandolin. And one thing led to another, and started getting more verse on that, and picked up the guitar, then picked up the fiddle and started singing. And I have an older brother, John Bertaldi, and my sister Jana Pate, and at the time we formed a family, the Bertaldi Family Bluegrass Band. So
I love it.
That was, we fast forwarded from 5 years old to probably about 10 years old, and so we traveled all over the Midwest regionally doing bluegrass festivals. And as that band, so that kind of got my love for the music and the industry and the shows and the business things behind it. And then once I turned 18 and their family started growing, they had kids and they were getting busy, and it was kind of just a organic process that, we just kind of disbanded because it was, they had other careers going on. I'm 18 and I'm thinking, wow, I want this to maybe be my career.
Right. I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, let's go. And so about that time, unfortunately lost my dad when I was 18 years old. So the backbone of all of that, and the go-to, and how to, who to talk to now or whatever. But I got a call from somebody in Branson, Missouri, and they were like, hey, we're putting this band together, and or we've got this band together, rather, would you want to come and work for us? So it seemed like really, with everything that happened at that point in my life, it seemed like the natural course. Well, yeah, I want to work in the music business, and you're offering me money to come and play music, so sign me up. Let's do it.
And being in Branson, you didn't have to move across the world. You didn't have to go to Nashville or New York or L.A. or anything like that.
It was at that point, it was the perfect case for me, because I could still be right there around my family and close and have that support group. So anyway, I moved to Branson. I worked at Silver Dollar City in various bands for 4 years, and worked on the Strip in Branson in a couple different theaters. And then I did that for exactly 4 years. And then I'll never forget it. It was a Christmas Eve. I got a call from a guy named David Huddleston. And David Huddleston is an actor. That was one of his famous roles was in Blazing Saddles. But anyway,
which one was he in Blazing Saddles? It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
I'm trying to think of the character, but I think it was. I think it may have been one of those scenes that it was. Give it a Google if you can do that.
I'm doing it. But I don't have a. Yeah. I'm not Joe Rogan. I don't have a Jamie. I've got an extra. My old MacBook and my laptop. But what was his name again?
David Huddleston. See what you find. I'm wanting to. He was.
Oh, he's the mayor. He was the mayor of the town.
Okay, the mayor.
Yes.
I didn't want to speak without knowing for sure, because I know some of those characters on that show.
Yeah, absolutely know that guy. He was no, he wasn't in Ernest movies, but he reminiscent of the guy who played the main character in the Ernest movies.
There he is, and you're exactly correct. Well, anyway, going on with that, Roy had hired. He asked me, he's like, hey, man, I know it's Christmas Eve and everything, but Roy Clark's looking for a fiddle player. Are you interested in the gig? And I'm like, at the time, Roy had built a theater in Branson, Missouri, but I also knew that Roy had sold that theater, and I'd heard through the grapevine that was getting ready to go back out on tour. Well, at that point, I'm 23 or 24 years old, and man, I'm ready to jump on a Silver Eagle and let's go see the countryside.
You already had that and you had that inside news, so you already had in your mind's like, wait, so he's getting rid of this, he's going back on the road. I do this show, I play a good show, he might take me on the road with him.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
a lot of a young audience now, we have this resurgence in country music now where people are going back and finding the 90s. Hopefully they keep digging back further and further. But for anybody a young audience out there that doesn't know, Roy Clark at one time was as big of an entertainer as there was in any genre. He and Buck Owens are on Hee Haw. He's on every award show there is. He's out touring with his band all over the world. I mean, the great Roy Clark, one of the greatest guitar, would you agree, one of the greatest, at least country, probably overall guitar players of all time?
He's certainly up there in the conversation. He has to be put in the mix of, I don't know whether you would do top 5, top 10 or whatever, because there's so many,
right,
and so many different that you, but look up the Jimi Hendrix quote about Roy Clark.
Exactly. And there you go. There you go. Yeah.
I just wanted to put things in perspective.
That's what I was trying to make sure I did, to put in perspective. Roy Clark, don't just think, but Roy Clark, absolute monster. And at this time, this would have been, what year would have this been, Justin? Mid 90s, early 90s?
Yeah, it was 1996.
96. Yep. So, I mean, he, at this point, he is just a legend. I mean, he is a living legend at this point,
Yeah. I come on too late. I didn't get to make the Iron Curtain trip over to the Soviet Union that everybody hears so many stories about. That was kind of course, it was musically historical, but it was monumentally political on the political side of things too. And for the stories that he told about that, and then the band members and crew that I got to work with that was on that tour, you can't imagine those stories could go on. That'd be a whole separate thing.
Oh yeah, podcast. Yeah. We'll definitely have to get some of those, because that was kind of like an ambassador tour thing, unofficially, kind of like going back to World War II when they sent Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, all those people over to do the ambassador thing, the breach, get everybody together through music deal.
You know your history, man. You're schooling me when it comes to that. But anyway, that I come on just late. I didn't get to catch that, and Hee Haw had just ran its course of phenomenal 26-year course on national TV, national television. I still think it's the longest running show like that ever in TV history. So,
thank goodness for YouTube. I can still watch it on the bus before every Justin Moore concert.
Yeah, exactly.
We still watch it.
That used to be that was the gold standard in Nashville. If you got invited to play or perform on Hee Haw, that was the catalyst. That was the benchmark. That's where everybody set the rung in the ladder.
Yep.
And so there was, but again, I still met all the cast and crew that would come out and still hang out in the green room, and the people that would come associated with Roy. Every night I went early for the simple fact, when we did all the Vegas, the stints in Vegas and Reno, and back then Atlantic City, you never could tell who was going to come out and be in the green room, whether it be musicians, singers, actors, politicians, or whatever. So it was a revolving door, and it was.
And you knew if you got there, you would get that chance, because you knew it was just inevitable.
If I go back and I think, my gosh, if we had technology now, and I had my cell phone and all of that stuff ready to go to take a picture, because I've never been that guy to grab pictures when I probably should have.
Same.
You know the deal.
Yep.
And I look back and I was like, how many times did I hang out with Evel Knievel and I never got a freaking picture with Evel Knievel? Like, we grew up with this guy. Like, why didn't I do that? But Chuck Yeager was another guy, which Chuck was. There's a lot of what an incredible human being there. But anyway, Roy Clark, consummate entertainer and a gentleman's gentleman, and I learned so much from him in my 16 years that I spent out with him. So that
awesome. Started as a Christmas Eve gig in Branson at his theater there. You know that's going away. So when do y'all go on tour? Is it that next spring?
Well, my first show actually was with him in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, and then we left for 4 weeks. That was the other thing, is like, not only, okay, I'm a kid, and not only have I got this phenomenal opportunity, but I'm getting ready to fly to my first gig, do a fly date right out of the chute, and then meet the buses out on the West Coast and do 4 solid weeks out on the West Coast. And that was how I got introduced to it. And the first time I ever met the man was right before we walked on stage. It was like, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And let's go do a show. So
Wow.
there was no sound, there was no load in at sound check and practice with the new guy or anything. It's just like, hey, know your shit and let's roll.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Roy had, we had a set list, but he was always known for, if he knew you were a good player, he would always look at you in the middle of the show, right when you least expected it, and go, play something right in the middle of wherever, so you had to be on your toes. And it was a lot of fun.
Wow. And so you're playing fiddle for Roy Clark. You get out on the road. And at this point, had you been out of Missouri much at 18 years old?
JR, no, man. I traveled with my family, maybe Southern Illinois, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri,
right.
Kansas. But I hadn't been, man, I don't know that I'd been out of the Central Time Zone at that point,
Same, yeah.
And so it was an eye-opening experience, and I'll shout out to my family that raised me and kept me grounded that whole time, because as you know, there's tons of pitfalls to get involved with out on the road. And
absolutely.
I was blessed to have some stuff instilled in me, but I knew somebody would be coming out to take care of it.
Yeah. Did you think that first time you get out to California, because I know I did, you just look around, you're like, what? How in the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
It's like, this is insane that I'm in California. I came all the way from Alabama. Now I'm in California to do a concert. Is this crazy or what?
And that music took us there. That's the deal.
And
just
that people
love for music.
Yeah, and that people like. I remember the first going to California or New York or Rhode Island, and I'm like, do people even know what country music is up here? And then you get there, and the place is packed, and they sing every word. You're like, okay, I had no idea. I'm naive and sheltered. I didn't know.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. It's like it's unbelievable how many country fans and rednecks or whatever are all over the place, north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, rural America, and then and everybody who's from there and has good memories and stories from there. So you get out with Roy, you're playing on the road. Is most of it fly dates, or y'all bussing all the time then?
We're bussing. Roy ran very few fly dates, and Roy didn't fly himself. He said if I'm flying, the whole band and crew's flying. Otherwise, he was on the bus with us every turn of the wheel. Which I was like, wow. And again, I didn't know any different. Nowadays it's like if the artist has the means to fly in or out, whatever, you hardly ever see them. It's just unless it's at the gig. But he ran 2 buses, and we made it happen with, my gosh, I think he still maybe had 17 people out on the road with him. It was a big. We had 3 background singers, 2 fiddle players. So that was the other thing that was really cool. Not only was it the bluegrass, but all the Texas swing stuff, and then the big orchestrated horn stabs and ensemble stabs with 2 keyboard players that he carried too. So it was we would break it down and do a 5-string bluegrass band type set, like with 2 or 3 songs, and then everybody would disperse back to their positions, and we would be playing these heavily orchestrated pieces, and it was quite a musical education. So
I could imagine so. And because Roy was one of those guys who crossed all genres. He played all types of music. He played sessions on stuff. He played them live. Like you mentioned, he was buddies with rock and rollers and grassers and everything else. And a lot of people who are not deep into music or don't know this, but the bluegrass thing is a special thing. It's kind of like jazz and rock and roll, and it can almost it's like, and this is no knock, and I don't play, so you might can correct me on this. Is just my observations over a quarter century of being in the music business, is that bluegrass and jazz musicians are basically the top of the food chain in those 2 areas. Like if you're in rock and roll, the jazzers not necessarily look down, but jazz is harder. So yeah, rock and roll's easy. Kind of same with bluegrass. It's like real grassers look down at country like, what is this simple stuff? Because bluegrass is so integral and so difficult. And both of those, to me, I've always noticed that it seems like jazz and bluegrass, not that they're snobby or look down on the others, but it's like if you can really play and impress the people who hold that highly, then you're really in. It's the upper echelon of those 2 styles of music, because it's just that difficult to pull off.
Well, I would agree with you, and I mean, you're talking about getting 3 to 5 instruments on stage, and depending on the vocalization and the sonically speaking, you've got to play your part. If that part ain't there, then the whole thing's going to crumble. There's no drums or production or to hide behind or simply go around. If you miss a note, they're going to hear it. Yeah. And the fans of that music, even though they may not play, they're dang sure going to hear it. They know if it's right or wrong. So I think there's a standard that everybody gets to when they're on the bluegrass end of it, that they, you just want it done right. And
right.
I think it's getting some of the newer bluegrass that's coming out now. I like to see I'm enjoying seeing the fun that's being had on the stage. Like normally, coming up, we all cut our teeth on Flat Scruggs and Monroe and the Reno brothers, but it was kind of straight ahead. You do your thing and like all business,
Right.
And I'm it's great to see those hardened edges of that real traditional stuff kind of softened to where people actually, they're up there. Not only are they having a good time, but they're showing that they're having a good time. They are entertaining outside of just the music. And I think that's a good look for bluegrass music and its resurgence now back into the music industry.
Absolutely. Because I think about you talking about that. I walk on our band bus a lot of nights after the show, and it's a Tony Rice video. It's a this. And it's so good. And same when I was with Party's band, after half the time we're listening to Miles Davis, we're listening to jazz, or we're listening to bluegrass stuff. It's just and it's just integral, and it's impressive, and it seems just so chaotic and out of control, but held together so easy. And like you mentioned, there's no click. I mean, there's no tracks. There's no backing tracks. There's no production to hide from. There's no vocal pitch correction, live vocal pitch correction. There's none of that. It's just go, and you got to be good. And half the time, it's one microphone. Everybody get around this mic. If you need a solo, just get in tighter.
And know how to blend and know how to mix yourself. And the vocals too. I'm glad you brought that up. And everybody that gets into bluegrass, it normally has been derived from sitting around a family table with siblings and learning how to sing those parts, and knowing how to not only sing them, but hear them and what part goes where and how to move it along with that. And it's just I don't know, if I had to go back and play and just said, hey, you can only play one style and that's for the rest of your life. And what do you want to do? It's a no-brainer. I would be back on a stage on a bluegrass band and jumping around from festival
absolutely
in a little fat black van or whatever to try to make ends meet and pay for the gas, So,
right. Go out to the merch booth, try to hawk some merch afterwards.
Stuff and
that's it.
Get some fuel money to get to the next
That's
gig.
it. Well, and you talk about people taking on. One just popped in my head. That's huge now, and I'm such a big fan of Billy Strings. I mean that's taking it and blending it and taking it to the next level. Now that's basically a huge festival act, but it's all rooted in bluegrass.
Yeah, and I love and it's so smart to have the lighting element and production aspect that he has brought into that. And one cool thing, because me being like anybody else, when he first come onto the scene, I'm like, okay, who is this guy? What's going on? And obviously to look at him and see, his antics and what he does. And it's like, okay, but it was something I just gravitated towards it solely at that time because of the music. But what I love about him is like, he really is he carries the torch and like he goes back deep, he knows all the Tony Rice stuff and everything else, but and I've never met Billy, but like he's diving into the Doc Watson type stuff, and he's going back into the barest form of the music and bringing some of this stuff back to the surface and bringing all of his buddies and his peers back to the forefront. And we all know who they are, but
right.
the mass public doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
And they need to, because it's like, these are the guys, that men and women that pioneered this sound.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm a fan of his solely because of that.
Yeah, he has opened eyes and put the focus on something, and opens a whole new audience to these people, that haven't seen, a Doc or Merle Travis or, these different acts back in the day that they, like you said, they may know some of the newer ones, but they don't know the traditional ones like you would know the Hank Seniors, the Waylands and Willies, that era, which a lot of people do because of the popularity and the, I guess, media and mainstream society, the way they've promoted it. But grass kind of got lost in there some. But him bringing it back around, now everybody at those shows knows who these popular, and I bet those YouTube videos are jumped way since that.
Oh, it has to. I mean, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was when he did his shows at Bridgestone here in Nashville. He brought out, and I'm going to leave a bunch of people out here, but one that comes to my mind was Tim O'Brien. And it's like people don't probably, unfortunately, don't know who Tim O'Brien and Hot Rise, the younger generation that's coming up, and it's like, you need to know who these guys are because they're amazing, and they're still around doing it at a high level. Yep. And so in the Dale McCurry band, all of those guys, and then Jason Carter has now left Dale's group and started his own thing, which it's been fun watching that. And again, I've never met Jason or got to play with him, but I feel like I've known him his whole life because you speak the same language, so right. it doesn't take long to get to know one another. So
right, yeah, our new piano player in Justin's band, Garrett Anderson. Yes,
Garrett Anderson, man, he worked on my last project. I love
did
Garrett.
He?
And it was so good to see. I didn't realize it, and he walked down the hallway in Pennsylvania when we were there, and I was like, Garrett, you piano player? And he was like, yeah, Garrett. I'm like, oh, dude, I didn't know that you were out with Justin now. So it was good to see him.
That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't know he played on that stuff you did, that last stuff you put out.
Yeah, he killed it.
He's such a nice guy, young guy, Coleman, Alabama, just a great guy and a phenomenal piano player. And he's eat up with it. He was playing with Daly and Vincent before he came to play with us.
Yeah, speaking of more grassroots music, Daly and Vincent, you bet.
And Rhonda Vincent, that's what I was going to say. Rhonda Vincent gets slept on, and if you watch her show, watch her stuff, she's as good as everyone. And she's been doing it since she was your age. When you were since she was 5.
My family and Rhonda Vincent and the Sally Mountain Show, we used to change stages at Silver Dollar City during before that Bluegrass Festival that they have there now, which is huge. Back when it was really first starting. It was her and her family. It was Darren and Rhonda and their younger brother Derek, and her dad was still alive and still doing it. And the Sally Mountain Show, I was ate up with it. It's like, let's play music, So it's such a heritage and cultural thing. I don't know. It's a good thing. One of my best friends, Aaron McDarris, now he's worked with Ron, plays banjo has for I don't know 20 years now, but it just a lot of good folks in the music business.
Absolutely, man. What a blast from the past. Y'all go check out those artists we mentioned. Dig into some bluegrass. You won't be disappointed. I mean, it'll take you on a ride. Well, so you go from doing that. So you go out with Roy Clark, opportunity, get to go play the one show that turns into more shows. That turns into 16 years on the road with Roy Clark.
Yeah, it's unreal. Looking back at it, and I'm like you. Hey, if I get somewhere that I like what's going on, they like me, I like them, why would I look for anything different and change this thing? But it was Roy. We ran hard, and I think Roy was in his early 60s when I first joined him, so he was still cutting it deep.
Yeah,
and we ran hard for I think it was about 8 or 9 years. And he decided to come off the road, so to speak, for a little while. And he wasn't calling it a retirement, but we were all kind of like, okay, what's getting ready to happen or whatever. And I'd already been coming to Nashville from Missouri, back and forth like a lot of people do. Once a month, you come down, you make riding appointments, you network and all that stuff. So I'd made up my mind. It's like, man, I'm gonna throw my hat in here and try this riding thing out and try to stretch my wings a little bit. And no more than I got in town, I got a call out of the blue to be on this TV show called Nashville Star, which was a USA Network. Or not to be on the show. Long story short, you had to go through the vetting and the interviews and I guess, audition process. And lo and behold, I would have never had time to have done that with Roy's touring schedule.
Right.
And it just kind of seemed like, okay, I'm not doing anything else. And again, it's music. So Roy always used to say, never say no, just say yes. You can say no. You can say no later, but
exactly.
Just say yes. So I was like, I listened to Roy. And I was like, okay, yes, let's do this thing. And that led into me to being on I guess it was, maybe season 5 of that show. I think it was season 5 in 2005. So, okay, we went from me starting with Roy. Now we're at 2005. And I was a contestant on that. And I didn't win that. I forget when they asked me to leave politely. But it was really good because it gave me some marquee value as a solo artist at that point to get out and make a living for several years, just kind of doing it on my own part.
Yeah, and also took you behind the curtain on how that production of a TV show and that those kind of things work. Just another level,
you're
education
exactly right.
on stuff. You know,
people take it for granted, and even people in the business, it's like that stuff looks really easy, but man, when you're standing up there, not in front of only in front of I forget, our live audience at that show was probably, I don't know, 800 to 1,500 people. I forget kind of what it was. It was a lot of folks.
Where did they film that? Is that the Wild Horse?
No, it was over at back when I believe it was called the Bell South, or was that the Roy Acuff Auditorium right there adjacent to where the Grand Ole Opry is now?
Yes, okay.
Bell South Theater, I think is what it was. I think they tore it down and built something else up there now. But anyway. That was where it was filmed, in that place right adjacent to the Opry, and not only the live, but I mean, there's a red light that comes on, and you're in front of millions of people watching. So it's like you better have your stuff together. And it also allowed me to work with like the guys from Six Wire, that band. They were a lot of the members of that band were the house band at Nashville Star. So we're talking John Howard was playing bass, and Chuck Tilley was playing. It was the drummer, and Steve Mandel was a guitar player. And I mean, that threw me in the middle of some musicians that not only did the deal live, but they did the deal live. Like to go live on TV is a different beast, and those guys cut that stuff so great, and it was so fun getting to work with them and watch from a close distance as they did all of the artists that were on that show. Yeah. So that was very cool. So
and they're still rocking. We do shows with them now. We do these events now for people, and Six Wire's the band. We're like, great. We already know this. CT and Andy Childs and all those guys.
Andy, of course.
Yeah, it's Justin gets tapped to do these different things, and when they say, well, the band's the back, we're always like, we'd like to have our band. They're like, well, Six Wire's the backing band, and we're like, okay, perfect. All right, we that's as good as it gets. They're on point.
Yeah. No, they take all of the animosity away that an artist may have. Yep. And they just so professional. Those guys are so professional. But it was fun doing that show, and like I said, I worked. I kept.
And that show,
busy.
People, I don't know if people know, that show spawned several stars. Miranda Lambert came off that show.
Miranda came off of it the year after I was on it. Chris Young. I think Chris and Miranda are obviously the two most notable. Unless I'm forgetting somebody, my apologies. But those are the two most notable that really used it. Were able to grasp it and use it as a springboard to catapult them into everything that they've been able to do to date, and Miranda didn't even win, I don't think, and Chris may have won. I'm not for sure. I'd have to go back and look at all that. But
back then, that was the only one of those shows where country people could go on. You had that, and you had American Idol. That was the only two shows like that. And
you're correct. And it ran for years on USA Network, and then NBC took it over. And it ran for one more year, and then just kind of fizzled out. But it was a great opportunity, and I still run into people that I worked with on that show, whether it was from wardrobe to lighting to rigging,
right?
Let alone the band and the other things that people actually see.
Yeah, well, that's what
TV.
that's what I was going to say. When the cameras are off, you get to see. All right, set, moving this. We're doing this. We're moving here. You're watching the assistant directors move things and the set carps and the this and that. So you're really watching how a big production goes down, and you've seen it on the for the show part for concerts for music. But this being television wrapped in there, it's different. And it's why wouldn't you want to learn that? If you're in the entertainment business, every little bit of that information helps, or it's good to have in your tool bag.
Yeah, it was probably, and I knew that, and it was, while it was happening, and probably was a distraction to me from what I really needed to be doing. But I was just trying to soak everything in because, those opportunities, though, they don't last forever.
Right.
And, it could be taken from you just like that. But it was, man, I just worked with so many great people on that. And it was a really good memory, really good time in my life that, and it was just a God thing because, like I said, if Roy wouldn't have come off the road, I would have never took that call because I wasn't going to leave that situation that I had to go and essentially need 5 months in order to really dedicate just to the Nashville Star thing.
Right.
So, but fast forwarding through all that, I was able to tour and take my own band, and hey, it was the me, myself, and I type deal, and there's where the road managing aspect happened because I was doing it big enough that we've got several dates we've got to put together and string and getting the bus or the flights or the van or whatever we were traveling in to make it from show to show. And so that and going back to Roy, you probably remember this a little bit too, but man, we didn't have cell phones and computers back then. No. And when you jumped off the bus, the biggest thing was like, okay, we're at a truck stop. Everybody get your calling card and who can make it to the payphone first to call home and say, hey, we're fine. I'll talk to you in another 8 hours when the bus gets, on these big long runs,
or pulling over to a payphone on the side of the road to call the venue to make sure someone was there to let you in because you didn't have a way to talk to them. You just had to call the bar and hope somebody was answered and say, hey, is somebody there to let us in today? Yeah,
exactly. And Taylor Seal was Roy's road manager. Taylor, I don't know whether you need to be watching JR's podcast, but Taylor never failed that he had all the answers, but when you asked him something, he would pull out this stack of papers from his back pocket and go through all of the stuff, and he would find it, and now we have Master Tour and all the technology and everything else, and it's like the job's hard, but it used to be a lot harder than it is now. Like I can't imagine having all that stuff to have to deal with.
I'm printing out. I've got our huge atlas in between the seats of the van with Wayne Mills, and then I've got to go print out. Specific directions to get places on MapQuest from the computer early on. I didn't even have a laptop. You had to do this at home before and find a printer and all that to get it.
You just took where I was going with that was the Rand McNally, the big atlas.
Yes.
That was always, they would say, Justin, because I was always sitting in the jump seat with the ruler and everything else. It's like, hey man, I think we're about 40 some miles away from the next town. If we want to get something to eat, and we're trying to help.
Yeah. There's another exit up here. Hopefully there'll be something to stop, because you didn't know on the map. It doesn't show what's at the exits like now your GPS does. You're like, well, let's hope there's something at this exit.
Yeah, maybe there'll be something. And again, I was the kid in the band that I hadn't been out of a different time zone. So I was, you bet, man, I'm game. Oh, we're going across the Rockies and this and that. And this is what we're getting ready to pass that we're getting ready to go through. So I was ate up with it. And that looking back, that kind of helped me facilitate what I have to facilitate now.
Right.
But shortly after Nashville Star, in the middle of that, of course, we had the recession going on, and we remember when Music City, unfortunately, 16th and 17th Avenue was for sale, or for lease, and boy, if we would have had the money to have bought it then.
I knew what I do now. Yeah. I know. I was in Nashville. I remember when 08 happened. I remember they had just built the Icon at the Gulch, and it didn't sell because the thing hit, the recession hit, and they were trying to sell those condos for like $125,000 a piece, and they were giving you like 4 years of HOAs covered and this and that, and it just seemed crazy at the time. I had no idea they'd be worth $3 million now if you'd have bought one.
Yeah. Well, and it was at that period of time when, gasoline. The last time I filled the van up on the way home from a gig, I think it was 4.69 a
Right.
gallon, and I'm going, I can't. I got it. Something else has got to happen. I'm trying to feed a family here.
Right.
We got to have something.
Yeah, I tell the story about us out west. We were out doing shows with Wayne. We're in Texas, and we're going from one town to the next. I think we were going to the Cuero Turkey Fest, actually, in Cuero, Texas, to open for Corey Morrow or something. And we stopped at the first gas station. We're like, golly, it's expensive here. They're proud of their gas. We go to the next one. We're like, what is going on here? Well, we didn't realize overnight they had jumped gas prices like $1 or so. This would have been about 05, 06, was a little before that. But they had done a big spike then, and we're like, this has really messed our budget up. We only had X amount budgeted for fuel for this whole trip, and now it has just wrecked our deal. But you didn't have a email sent to you or a Apple News thing saying, hey, gas prices are up across the country $1. We just thought this county was expensive, so we kept riding, and then we realized, no, this is where it is, and that was a big deal back then.
Well, I mean, it's the music business, and when the bottom line, when you get so far in the red after every trip, it's like, okay, this has no legs at the moment. So, but I was blessed to get a phone call from our buddy Colt Ford's office, and they were looking to make a move and change fiddle, or their fiddle player had left, and I was thinking, what in the world am I going to do? And I forget what year that was. I think it was 2013. But I was like, what? And it was in June. And I was like, well, how many shows have you got left this year? And they were like 100. And I'm like, 100 shows between now, June and December, in 6 months? And they were like, yeah, right at 100. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's go.
Yeah, that's work
travel.
There. Yeah.
It's work. And so I jumped on that bandwagon, and
going from one, I wouldn't say extreme, but kind of one extreme to the other, going from a Roy Clark Grass Band to Uncle Colt, rock and roll,
I called it taking fiddle where no fiddle had gone before.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to look at it.
But you are correct. It was kind of an eye-opening deal, and the venues we played and all of that stuff. It was
and now it's way more accepted than it was then, because the hip-hop Colt doesn't get near enough credit for creating a genre. He literally created a genre in hip-hop that so many other artists ventured into, and now it's incorporated into mainstream country music with, obviously the Al Dean song that he and Brantley wrote took it to put it on the national spotlight, Dirt Road Anthem. But now it's a lot more accepted. Back then, I'm sure a lot of people were like, what is this? Yeah,
it was, and it was amazing.
And then you'd go, look, we're country. Don't forget it.
Yeah, don't forget it. And I was allowed to bring that to it. And it was, and even on the recordings, got to play on most of the records, all of the records through my tenure. And that was really a cool deal. And then in the middle of that, we had a great tour manager. You probably know Sarge, Mark Uhas, who I dearly love.
Absolutely. Hey, funny story on that. I still keep up with Sarge. He lives down in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
And my brother he's in Dunedin, which is right down the road from where my brother lives. So we hooked up last time I was down there. And so we stay in touch. Well, last time I was there, I'm eating at a brunch place with my family, and I look over and I see a guy. I thought it was Sarge. 100% thought it was Sarge. Earrings, bald head, facial, everything. Looked just like him. I thought, he's looking good. I hadn't seen him, probably a year and a half at this point. I was like, there's Sarge. So I go over there and say, Sarge. He looks up, and I realize it's not him. And I'm like, my bad. Sorry. They're like, Sarge? I was like, if you ever go to the amphitheater over in Dunedin, he's the production manager over there. Sergeant Mark Euclid, United States Marines. I said he was a tour manager. He's a great person. You look like him. It's not a knock. It's a compliment, actually. He's a great person. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry I missed I thought it was you, Sarge, but it wasn't. But yeah, we still stay in touch. I met Sarge slightly before that. He was Luke Bryant's tour manager.
Luke Bryant, yeah.
When I first went out with Party, our first shows out with Party, there's Sarge setting up his production office in the back of Luke Bryant's one truck at the time. And he was one of the first tour managers to help me figure out the way.
Well, and I attribute all of the skills that I've what I have and lack thereof. It's like it was just basically a template that I saw him use all the time. But I think that's where we met, was on one of those tours that Sarge was still out with Colt. And he introduced me to you guys and everybody else in the industry, really. So I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for that. But
was it one of those tours with I'm trying to think. I wonder if that by 13 I was with Justin at the end of 13. So yeah, it was probably a Just tour because we went on tour together not long after that.
I'm pretty sure it was when we did. It was Colt, Justin, and Brantley.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite tours. That's it. That would have been 14,
so
15. Yeah, that was one of the best tours I've ever done.
30 dates or whatever. It was just fun. Everybody knew what was going on, and everybody was friends.
And that was Jeff Gossett, who's already been on this podcast, was Brantley's guy at the time. Corey Robertson was there at the time. He's now Brantley's tour manager, which I'm going to have him on soon. This was before Adam Hale, who was y'all's tour manager for a minute, which I still talk to. I actually saw him down here at the Wharf a few weeks ago when Red Clay Strays were in town with Muscadine Bloodline. So Adam and I
are
killing it. So, and I'm gonna have Adam Hale on the show soon to talk about the management side of stuff and his transition from being a production assistant to a tour manager to a manager now of one of the biggest independent acts in the world.
Yeah.
But that was another, those ties, they still all tie together. And Joey G was our tour manager at the time. I was just the assistant tour manager. And last week, the connection with Ethan Strunk, who's now Luke Combs, the first tour manager he ever saw, was Joey at a Justin show. It's like, what does that guy do? And Corey, our piano player, said that's he's our tour manager. And Ethan goes, I want to do that. So, and now he's Luke Combs' tour manager. So.
Wow, that's that's putting everything in the right order right there, Ethan. That's pretty good work.
That's wild, isn't it? So you're on the road with Uncle Colt at this point, and y'all are rocking and rolling. We're out doing shows together, doing doing over 100 shows a year. You've got Sarge out TMing for you. Y'all are rocking and rolling. And I mean, that's got to be good times for you. When you, especially in between work and the solo thing, you're like, this is expensive, and I just do this, and that still leaves you time, and you're meeting everybody. So the networking thing, so you're just connecting with everybody doing that. Because Colt, if anybody doesn't know, Colt Ford knows more people than anyone I've ever met. He has to have 2 million people in his phone book or in his cell phone, because anybody's number you need, Colt has it. He knows everybody.
Yeah. He with not only with the music, but just every lot of different other industries too. So that was really fun and eye opening, and we got to play, and I got to do a lot of things that, I knocked down a lot of stuff with Roy, getting to do a lot of super cool stuff, from just appearances on a lot of different shows and things. But with Colt, I got to knock down a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't have on a different side of things, kind of. Not a different side of the music, but it was just in a different place, different time and place.
Right.
So it was still cool. And Sarge, unfortunately, and I've never forgotten. I remember when he gave his notice, he's like, guys, man, I'm just going to do something different here. I'm going to get off the road and go this direction. I was like, man, this is going to suck. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I think a lot of the other boys were thinking the same thing. And we rolled for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and things just weren't cooking. And Colt on the golf course one day, he was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I finally just threw it out there. I think this was in the fall of whatever year that was. I was like, dude, I know what you need. I know what this tour needs. I know I can handle this. We got 3 or 4 more months left in the deal. I'm out here anyway. Let me run with the ball. If you don't like it, let's talk at the first of the year. I'll go back, find somebody else, or I'll do it until you find somebody else or whatever. Right. And then we did that, and that lasted until just a few years ago when things got weird with his health and everything else. So it was a great learning experience. And,
great run.
And again, was a way for me to, unfortunately, it gets to be, how can I bring home enough money to support my family doing this?
Right.
So it
because by this point you're married with 2 kids.
I got married with 2 kids, and as much as we're working, it's like, hey, you know the drill. I mean, I always need more money. It don't matter.
Yeah.
It just it seems to go through my hands just as quick as I can get it. Don't matter. So,
and that's part of, I've said that on this show too. When you're growing up, you go to a concert, you see everybody on stage, you just instantly assume they're all millionaires.
Yeah, everybody, oh man, this must be great and everything else. Like, no, come back out here and get you a big handful of this.
Yeah, right.
Roll with us for just about even 3 or 4 days. I've had some people come out for 2 days and they're going, don't know how you do this. Well, oh my
Right.
gosh, what's going on? It's like, hey, we
That's what
haven't
we
even.
do. I don't
Yeah,
have
that's
another option. This is kind of
yeah,
what I do. I tell people all the time, don't get in the music business because you want to make money. Get in the music business because you love and you're passionate about music.
yeah. That's when, and then there's a lot of truth to it, and we do, we get to do some really cool stuff,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's
and we make
and
plenty of money. That's not a knock, but it's
yeah,
just
we're
not.
not.
It's not the perception you think when you just when you just assume everybody on stage is millionaires, kind
Yeah,
of deal. It's not
yeah.
that. They're not just
That's
throwing out free private jets and free limos and all that. Just
yeah.
everybody's getting $1 million a year kind of thing. It's not that. It can be, but it's not
It can
necessarily always that.
it can be, yeah. Well, and so I ran with that, and again, that's kind of where the TMing thing side of my
Yeah.
career really developed and started. Well, it was already developing with the conversation we've had, but I didn't know it, but it
Yeah.
was. And but I
So
took
now
the
you're playing fiddle, acoustic, and TMing.
yeah,
And because you're already there, you've seen how it's done. And I've said that before too. There's no perfect tour manager that can do anybody. I mean, maybe there is, but a tour manager is specific to the artist he's working for and the act he's taking care of. You know what I mean? There's a great tour manager for each act. You know what I mean? And it might not
yeah,
be plug and play with everyone, but you knew what you needed for that act. You knew what you guys needed on a day-to-day basis, on operational level, what needed to get done to keep the shows going, to keep the train going.
yeah, absolutely. My big saying is anything within reason.
Yeah.
So I got to throw that out there. But yeah, I've learned to be able to get us where we need to go and keep it between the ditches even in the worst of times. So I
Yeah.
think I
Got to
always
be
tell my kids,
flexible.
I was like, Dad, where are you going at this week? I said, I'm not for sure, but I'm just going to get the money. We're going to get that bag of money.
That's it.
And it
Going somewhere and I'll be home as soon as I can.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I got to do that, and then I guess it was last year I TM for a Texas act, Creed Fisher.
Creed Fisher, outlaw
Creed,
country music
yeah,
right there.
man, Creed is a trip, and I wish him so well. He had a horrific motorcycle incident, which unfortunately I was a part of when that happened, and we got him mended up and taken care of. And I'm telling you, he's a singing son of a buck, and one of the toughest people. Whew, my gosh, I think I counted up from the time me and the paramedics scraped his broken into body off of that asphalt. 42 days later, he was back on a tour bus doing it
Wow.
and helping him. He didn't want help, but we had crutches and a wheelchair, and he would sit on I tried to keep him set down on stage, but he'd get up, and I was like, Creed, you're making me a nervous wreck, man. One little step and a bobble on this leg and hip you've got held together with 30-some pins, and we've got another problem,
Right.
Come on. But he tough guy. I really appreciate him keeping me busy for a while. And then, as you know, I just signed up with Rodney Atkins this past spring, and still doing that to date. So we're on a big run out west right now and just flying back and forth, trying to keep everything tracking in Nashville and out on the road. So Rodney's casting crew is great and really enjoying that. And my gosh, we both knew, but standing side stage, it's like, dude, I forgot all these hits that you had. Like,
Yeah.
they just keep coming. So
Yep. Hot Rod's a good one, and we have done shows with him before you came along, and that's what when I saw you in a couple weeks or a month or so ago, we did that show together. I was like, had y'all done shows together before? And you're like, no, we hadn't. We didn't meet until this gig. And I was like, we've done plenty of shows with Rod and his outfit. They were always good. I remember we actually were playing with them over in Hawaii when I got engaged to my wife in 2016, I believe. And I said, man, he's great. I mean, they got a great band. He's got great songs and all that. And you're like, I'm loving it so far. And then, and we get to hang out that night, and it was different for me seeing you do just that. And I keep thinking, where's his fiddle case? Oh yeah, he's not playing fiddle tonight.
It's still weird. Even yesterday when I landed at BNA and I was walking out, I'm like, man, I just feel so bare. And it's like, I don't have my instrument. I don't have my fiddle with me. I still suffer from that.
Yeah, you think you get off if you wake.
Like, where's this at? It's like it's like my left arm or something. It's like, no, I don't have to take that with me no more. So
Yeah, have you gotten off? Have you about to walk off the airplane yet? Oh, I forgot my fiddle, and almost go back and you're like, wait, oh, I didn't bring it.
Exactly. That's happened numerous times. Like almost to a freak out point. Like, yeah. And it's like, wait a minute, no, I'm not doing that no more.
Especially if you fall asleep on the flight.
For the moment. Yeah,
you're right.
Exactly.
But that's great. Yeah, and so now getting out. So what would you say are the is there things you've learned just doing TMing that you didn't realize when you were playing, or has it been such a smooth transition that you were picking it up as it was going, so really wasn't any surprises when you got to being a tour manager?
I mean, there's always those surprises. It's like, wow, I didn't realize I was going to have to facilitate that, or not just have to facilitate it, just realize that even something like that could come up that we have to navigate. And,
right.
I don't think anybody, if they have wrote a tour manager, tour managing for dummies or whatever type crash course, I'm not for sure that you could get it all in there, because it's just like it encompasses so many different things, and you can draw the boundaries of what an actual tour manager is, but as well as me that on a daily basis we're doing stuff that it's like, wow, this ain't really a part of it, but this needs to be. I've got to get this facilitated. This has to be done in order for the group as a whole. So you just do it and go on. So
yeah, and it's artist specific. Each one's different. Some we talked about it briefly when we were together. Some people, like you mentioned, Roy only rides the bus. Like Justin, he only rides the bus. Then you got some that want to fly in and out every day. Some that bring their family. Some that don't bring their family. Some that stay up late, some that get up early. I mean, you kind of got to figure out their vibe and then figure out how to work around that and keep everything cohesive.
Yeah, it's and you've got I probably, looking back, I probably should have went and got a psychiatry, a psych degree or something, but there's a lot of that to it. And
that's what I tell people. I'm basically a camp counselor.
Camp counselor. Yeah. And, you got everybody looking to you for answers or guidance or direction. And most of it's real light stuff, and it ain't jovial stuff, but we're all away from our family and our homes, and it doesn't matter how smooth stuff's going. Stuff happens. And we have to, if it's a band member, a crew, not even the artist, but somebody, if their wife or their significant other, their kids, God forbid, needs something, we got to help them. We got to help them figure out how to help their family, because at the end of the day, we're doing it for our families, and it's a job, but we've got to make sure that those that our girls back home are taken care of too.
Absolutely.
They're the support that keeps all of us
100%. And it's hard. And it's hard because the job is so demanding and you're gone, but there's a balance there. You just got to try to find to where you're taking care of everything. And it's really challenging. It really is.
It is. That's probably the most maddening aspect of it, because I don't ever want to let anybody down out there,
right,
or whatever. And it's just, you've got to be on top of your game all the time in case something significant like that should arise. And
there's not a lot. It's not like a normal job where there's flexibility. Well, I'll just take a day off. I'll make up for it next week. And this stuff, we have shows booked. That's just the way they are. We have to get there unless the artist can't make it. I mean, the rest of us have to. He's the only one that can pull the plug on it. There's
no calling in sick. There really isn't. If that's what if it's coming up, it's like, hey, even if it's an on-call gig. It's an on-call business.
Yeah.
So, and once you accept that, you just realize that's just what it is.
I've noticed that it has changed over the years, because I notice a lot of the younger guys and gals these days are a lot more apt to quickly ask, well, I need to take this off, or I've got this wedding, I've got this something, or, or even I'm having a child, I want to be off for a few weeks. I'm just thinking, man, you just didn't even ask that back in the day. I mean,
no, like that would have been embarrassing to.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that that's not right.
Right, exactly.
It's just not.
It's kind of an unwritten rule, and because for us, and and I guess I don't know, it's just a new generation, but for us, it was always, one, you don't want to let the team down, and two, you don't want to miss the gig, because if somebody else comes in and does a better job, you don't have a gig anymore.
Exactly. There's I can remember a handful of shows. So Sick, Puke Bucket on the side of the stage, play, and in between, when I didn't have to play or sing, was in the corner behind the wings throwing up. So Sick. And
they talk about Jordan's flu game. I'm like, I've had so many flu shows and sick shows, and wheeled in there with a broke foot, and I just left out playing my rotator cuff surgery so I could have a few weeks before we have another show, so I could make it to the show, and this stuff. I mean, just whatever it takes.
And then, by the way, after you get done with your job, you get to get on a 45-foot long bus and crawl in a bunk, and that's where you're sleeping, going 80 miles an hour down the interstate.
And and when I used to drink heavy, I guess you call it passing out more than sleep. It was easier to get sleep. I find the older I get, I just do not sleep good on the bus these days. It is just. Even with a nice bunk and a good driver, it is just it's not good sleep. It's just not. And if you're hurt, injured, or sick, it's just rough. And not to mention, you got 10 other people snoring and farting around you as you're going down the road. And
you're never more than you're 6 feet away from somebody all the time. So right. I mean, personal space is I love being around people and everything else, but sometimes you just like, ooh, wow, man, I need to get away somewhere to decompress for 5 or 10 minutes,
Yes, 100%.
So it's that part of it can be a little trying, but it's all good. We're probably in the same club, but I forget it's 30 some years I've been in the business, and that I'm proud to still be making my living doing it. And I don't know what else I'd ever
that's
be
the
doing
thing,
or be qualified to do or anything else.
I'm not qualified to do anything else at this point.
I hope I can ride it into off into the sunset, but we'll see.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily translate on paper, but you would think, you're like, man, if y'all could just see what I do, you would understand. It would be a valuable asset to any kind of basically. I've told people this before when the pandemic happened. I was like, you don't want the whole touring industry to be unleashed on the job market, because a lot of people are going to lose their job. Because I'm telling you, those crew guys and gals, not even talking about me necessarily, but the guys and gals on our crew and people like that, it doesn't matter if they've never done that job before in their life. If you tell them what you need to get done and give them some kind of manual or handbook, I promise you in a couple of days they will do it as good as the person who did it before them, if not better.
Yeah, we're all very versed and good at doing, just doing stuff off the cuff and figuring it out.
And figured it out, just whatever. It's like, but I didn't
MacGyvering it.
Yeah, MacGyver, figuring it out, and I'm the same boat. I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm blessed to have run into music, and it's led me a very fruitful life. Been able to afford, to live and not have to struggle, even though it's tough times sometimes. But I don't know what else I would have done. It was a blessing that music came in my life, because I was fumbling through college, didn't really have any direction. And then music led from one thing to another, and now almost 25 years later, that's the only career I've ever had. And I've done some side jobs and still do side jobs, but it led into a career that I didn't even know the job existed prior to getting into the business. Growing up, I didn't know you had a road manager and a tour manager and a this and that, and a lot of people don't.
Well, man, you are so blessed, and I'm envious of your people skills. You are so good. Have always been such a personable person, and people in our business backstage, they gravitate towards that, and they want to. People want to be around JR, wherever JR is. That's, and it's just not for the party per se, for the party aspect of it. It's just because you're a good dude and you do have the answers, and you've gained a lot of respect for those people out there. So myself included, and I appreciate your friendship, and I know that you are a handful of guys that I can text or call, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, even in an emergency situation, but even if it's not a non-emergency situation, JR is going to get back to me. He's going to answer my question. And that people, that can't be said across any industry. So I thank you for that. So,
well, I appreciate you saying that, Justin, but it came honest, because that's the only skill I had. I'm not technical. I can't sing. I can't play. I can't tune a guitar. I can't, plug in an amp. I don't know how to do anything like that. So when I got in the music business, it was just like, find a way to be helpful. And that was it. I just used and before that I was doing the fraternity thing, throwing the parties and running the parties at the bar, and then even high school parties and stuff. And it was just figuring out to make it work, and being able to talk to different people, and bringing value to yourself, figuring out. And that was my thing when I first got on the road. You figure out, all right, they got all this stuff. What could I do? What needs to be done here? And you just find things to do to be helpful and help the whole process move down the road, and it just built from one thing to another. And I just had really great teachers, really great people to look up to. A lot of people, not a lot, but enough to look at and say, well, I don't want to do that. That's not the way you do it. That didn't come across right. Don't be like this XYZ, if this ever comes up, do this instead, or try this. And a lot of trial and error over the years,
That's what it is. I think that's with the jobs and seeing so many different things thrown at you, that you deal with them, you address each situation, and then you put it in your memory bank. And should that specific situation ever arise, or one like it, hey, I've already dealt with this. This is what we're going to do, and this makes the most sense. And then you report back to the powers that be, and it's like, hey, I handled it correctly, and that's
right. Well, it's an analytical type thing. Usually, when something comes up for me and I have to make a decision on something, I just throw up a quick pro and con. All right, what are the pros of this? What are the cons? And then they'll usually offset each other, and you can figure, oh, well, that's worse than that, or that's going to help that, and then you just make a decision. If you sit around and wait on 20 people let's all come together and figure out what we're going to do, you're never going to get an answer. So as a tour manager, a lot of times you just got to pro and con the situation, come up with the information you have currently, figure out what you think the best option is, go for it. All right, because you got to keep going. You can't just stand there and look at each other. You got to do something. All right. Well, this past weekend we had a private show. Rain, not a great stage, all that stuff, and we're figuring out. I walk up, and they're all, the band crew, everybody's looking at me. JR, you got something for us? I'm like, well, not really. I just was coming to check on y'all, see if y'all had something. Yeah. Y'all were going to tell me what I need to tell Justin if we're going to play or not. And I'm like, well, this is what we ought to do. I say we just wait it out. Jeff, how soon can we start? I think if everything's working 15, 20 minutes, I said, well, let's get the local production. Let's get this thing dry as we can. Let's just try to go. We got a 10:30 hard curfew. We got to be done by then, so we'll cut the set short. We'll just start at the beginning. We'll tell Justin and Roger just start cutting songs as we go. We'll play as long as the rain will let us, and that's all we can do. If anything changes in the next 15 minutes, hit me on radio. Let's just go. And then you're waiting on new information. When something else comes up, you got to be ready to pivot. That's why I say be flexible, because things will change, and can't just stay the course, because if new information comes in, you might have to change courses.
Yeah, it's always changing. It's never the same, and I think that's a lot of the beauty part of being on the road in general. It's a different town, a different stage, a different audience every night. It's a different set of obstacles to have to knock down. And the older I get, those obstacles I hope for less and less of them. When I was younger, it was like, hey, this is something I've never saw before. This is great. Now it's like, damn, I wish everything was the same template. But
I know, right? It's wild once you've been everywhere, and it's not. And I don't take it for granted. Still getting to go do these things. It's just different the first time you go somewhere, and the second, third, fourth. But after you've been, like you and I have, you've been a lot more places than I have. But I've worked in all 50 states. I've been to Hawaii only once, Alaska twice, but everywhere else fairly regularly all year long. And once you've seen it, and it's nothing, it's no knock. It's lost that thrill of, oh, we're going to New York to play a show. It's like, oh, now you're like, kind of like, man, New York's a long ways from home. Boy, how am I going to get a flight back? It's going to be a long Sunday trying to get home. Yeah. Oh, we got West Coast shows.
What do I do?
Yeah, and then you're like, well, I got 1.5 days off. If I try to fly home, I'll have about a day home. Is it worth it to try to go back, or should I just save the money and try to stay out? It's all those type things that are a lot different when you're young and single and are just trying to get in you'll do anything to get in the business. You'll do anything to keep moving up the ladder so you'll have a job, and then at some point It's like then you start trying to facilitate home and everything else, and adds another layer. And It doesn't work, and I tell people that all the time. It ain't for everybody, and most people, don't last very long out there. And there's enough rope to hang yourself, and the pitfalls are there. It's a tough business, but if you make it, there's great memories, great stories, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It really is, because, like you said, the thing I had, and Justin says it on stage, I've done things that I never even dreamed of. I never thought I'd get to meet everybody in the business. I never thought I'd get to meet my heroes, and never thought I'd get to go play Madison Square Garden. I never thought I'd go to California to the Capitol Tower. I never thought I'd go fishing on Lake Michigan, or fly on a private jet to Mexico to play a show. I mean, it's just things you don't even know, dreams you didn't know you had. And then once you check those off, there's always cool new things to do. But then now I'm trying to go back is when I go to these towns, try to take it in more, because when you're young and in a rush, you don't really embrace and take in the town as much. You're like, and people think you go to these places, you're just going on a sightseeing tour. Basically, most of the time, it's just the back of a building. It's
absolutely. You don't have time to do anything else.
No.
Or it's the bus is going to, I always use the example, oh, you've been on a bus, you must see a lot of cool stuff. And it's like, no, because we're traveling through the night. And I was probably 60 miles away from the Grand Canyon at least 100 different times before the schedule allowed us to stop and go into the park and actually see the Grand Canyon. Now, it was an awesome sunrise at the Grand Canyon. Boys, this is where we're at. Everybody get up at 5:30. This is going to be amazing. And it was.
Yes.
But again, I was by it 100 times before I got to stop by and actually see it. And that's the way with all the stuff is, and the little places in towns and stuff. So you just you do what you can, carve out a little time and try to do it and hope that it works out.
And at some point,
cool shit.
For me, it's like, I said, most of our heroes from when we were coming up, unfortunately, a lot of them have passed. And then fortunately, we've met all of them and seen most of them. So that allure is of meeting a young artist. Not that I'm not happy to meet young artists sometimes, but it's just different when you grew up being a Hank Jr. fan or Merle Haggard fan or Charlie Daniels fan. Then you actually get to meet these people, versus there's a new huge act. But take a Morgan Wallen, for example. I known him when he was opening for us, when he was solo doing these writer round things. So you see the right, and so I'm happy for it, but it's different than the first time you get to meet Charlie Daniels, when you get to say, and no knock on them. So it's just a different perspective on it. So for us, and you're probably like me, most of the time now when we go places and do shows with other acts, I'm more excited to see my friends who I already have that are on these other outfits, like who's in this band or who's on this crew or who's a tour. Who am I going to get to see? And I get to see you, or I get to see another buddy in this. And that's what makes the day. It's not the excitement of I'm going to go meet this art. Hopefully I get to meet this artist or get to watch them. It's not like I'm going Mel Tillis and the Statesiders. Yeah. You think I missed that set at 1:00 that day we did a fair? No way I missed that set.
No way.
But now, I'm excited to hopefully backstage I get to run into somebody like you. That's what's exciting now,
Yeah. Well, it's like we both said over our conversation, you just meet so many great people, and, most of the times you don't get enough time to spend with them because we're there doing a job and working and everything else. So when we do have those little moments, that it's just like me and you the other day in Pennsylvania, I don't know, we talked for 15 or 20 minutes and covered how many years worth of stuff all in that 15 minutes, but it was good to reconnect and get back. And I'm sure we could do the same thing if we had another 15 minutes the next time we run into one another. And then we'll pick up where we left off. So, and
that's the best. We were having a good time catching up. And then I think we got double clotheslined by the Road Warriors, AKA Walker and Texas Ranger, Hot Rod and Rose's kids. What are their names?
Yeah.
What are their names?
Ryder and Scout.
Ryder and Scout. I knew it was something like that. I called them the Road Warriors because they come around that corner that day, buddy, and they both got on. They looked like professional wrestlers. They had on like headbands and armbands, and they had the whole outfit on. And Justin almost died. I said something about it. I said, well, it was something, we were standing side stage, and I said, well, let's just watch out. The Road Warriors may take us out if we get too close. And he almost lost it when I called them the Road Warriors. But to me, and they're huge. They're big kids, for as young as they are. They're big husky kids, and they had the outfit on. They have the gift of gab. They're not shy at all. They'll talk to anybody.
Oh, Scout, yeah, he'll talk all day, any time, no matter what. Cartoon character, action figure, Hot Wheels or whatever. I mean, they are hell on wheels. Is what they are.
Yeah, for sure. Because we were talking, and then
7. They're good
yeah,
boys, but they're 5
great
and 7.
kids. They're great.
They're active.
Yeah, they come in there and tomahawk us, and so we had to get off, and that's part of our job is make sure the kids are good. I had one this past weekend. Justin's 8-year-old was out with us south, so and we're not playing. Big arenas. These are outside shows and a private show, so it's weird. I don't have anywhere to take him. I've got Nathan trying to take care of Justin, so I get south to the, we go to the meet and greet. I get him back, take Justin to the stage. Well, he's not having fun. I want to go to the bus. All right, so I take him back to the bus. So then I'm on the bus basically babysitting during the show, and I'm on my radio. I'm trying to look out the windows. Everything good. I'm just a nervous wreck. Want to make sure everything's handled, but I've also got to make sure my principal's youngest child is alive, and I'm the godfather. I'm his godfather, so I want to, obviously, but that's a change in roles from when I used to have to go make sure I get us an extra bottle of Jägermeister at the end of the night to making sure South chicken nuggets are cooked properly.
Well, I'm glad we are.
And make sure he actually showers when he goes to the shower. I'm like, come here, let me smell you. Smell his hair. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Did you just wash your hair? No. And he hold his arm like, all right, well, I know you didn't fake me there. So your chicken nuggets will be ready in 5 minutes.
I'm glad we were having this part of this conversation because yes, and as a parent or just as a good human being, when you're talking about kids, and no matter whether it's your bosses or not, you want to make sure these kids are taken care of.
Exactly.
Places that we get to, there's not places for them to sit or anything else, and that becomes our responsibility.
And it's dangerous backstage in general. People that want to come to shows, people always want to come back. Can I come backstage? Can I come backstage? I always tell people backstage at a concert, especially a country concert, is about like backstage at a rodeo. Watch where you step. You know what I mean? Because there is stuff everywhere. And I tell them, like, we make it to where if you're sitting in the audience, it looks real pretty and everything sounds good. From behind the mic line, the curtain line back, we don't care what it is chaos. There's wires, cables, it's dirty, there's trash. Yeah. You can't hear anything most of the time. And then there's kids running. Well, like Scout and Ryder the other day, when Rose is on stage doing a song with Rodney and you're going to do something, you helping with this or that. And I see them there, instant JR, Uncle JR, Roadman JR locks in. I'm like, all right, them boys are good. Make sure they don't get out of hand till she gets back. It's just as a good human, you would want any kid, not just in the business, but you want to make sure their well-beings, because it's not really a good place for them, really. It's not. There's electrical, there's stuff that could fall,
And just another reason why I love you, because I was busy with doing something else, and if I didn't have eyes on them, you did. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much for looking out for humanity.
Yeah, of course. That the song said it best, the children are our future.
Yeah,
teach them well and let them lead the way, and that's why, I've talked a little bit about this. Like, I put the bottle down last year. I still have a little wine and beer sometimes, but not near like what I was known for a long time. But that was part of it. I want to set a better example, to anybody that's watching from close or afar. I just want to set a good example, and that everyone could see, and no knock on it. If you want to rock and roll and party, God knows I did, but just it's time, set a better example, and things change, just like it's taking our careers change and things change. You just change in life. You grow and you evolve, and that's part of it now, is making sure my godchildren, my nieces and nephews, and everybody, I can be there for them, and my wife and my family. I really want to focus in on that and do the best I can, because even though I think I've tried all these years, there's you miss things and you don't get it done as well as you should have, and it's just a very demanding job, being gone, and then now it's like, well, make sure to set the tone again. You reset and set the tone again best you can. It's all you can do.
Well, it's I used to have Sid Pierce. Sid, if you ever see this, man, I love you. He was Roy's front house engineer and a lot more things than that. Just a solid person in general. But Sid's big saying, or one of Sid's big sayings was, he said, man, we've not got an organization out here, man. It's an organism. It's like everything's growing and changing all the time. People are changing. The places, the venues are changing. Everything's just, and every day we have to morph into something else, and at the end of the day, be better people and leave what we found in a better spot than what we found it, basically.
Absolutely.
So,
and then, and now we've got all the younger road managers and people looking up, and that I was the guy looking up to Sarge. Now I'm in Sarge's spot. It's just you move up to those positions.
Well, it's a heck of a business. It's a heck of a business. So
It
proud to be
really
a
is.
part of it, and hopefully continue on in some form or fashion.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we finally got you on, and shout out to Marco. Got you on the the big tour manager group chat on WhatsApp.
Man, hey, to everybody out there, first names, and if I haven't met you or whatever, thanks so much. But I've learned a lot just from being on that.
It's amazing.
And trying to bank this stuff that I don't necessarily respond to it, but I see it coming down through there in the feeds, and that's such a great tool and a resource to be a part of. So I appreciate everybody that's throwing the questions and the answers, because I'm sitting there absorbing and taking, because I'll be that guy.
Oh yeah, I rarely can.
One of those
if
answers,
I ever get a chance where I can help something or have something I can add or I think will contribute, I'm so happy, because normally I have nothing to contribute. All these people are way better at their job than I am. So it's usually like, but I'm like you. I see a question come up and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait for the group to jump on this and dissect this one.
Let's see. It's a fun part of my day, and there's been I think I've been on it for maybe a month or now or whatever. You got me in there, and I keep on thinking, man, I'm finally going to be able to contribute to this. And I think there's been maybe once or twice it's like, oh, I know that answer, and by the time I've seen it and can help, somebody else has already beat me to it. It's like I guess it's like the Family Feud button or whatever. I
it really is.
Slap the button quick enough with the answer.
Very rarely can I as well. I got one the other day. Somebody asked a question about Starlink, the internets for the buses, and I was like, ooh, I know. I just had a meeting with our production man. We just talked about it. Let me put all that up there. And I got like one thumbs up, and I was like, at least I helped somebody.
Yeah, awesome.
And the other week I was somewhere, and my bus driver was, I don't think we can drop off at the whatever Salt Lake or Denver airport or whatever. And I'm like, and I go in our notes, and I was like, well, it says here you can, but let me double check. So I put it on the group. Within before the bus could drop me off. Yep, I fly in out of there every week. You can drop off at upstairs, level 6, no problem. Stay in the outside lane. I'm like, boom, 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 easy peasy.
It's such a great resource. So I don't know who started. Maybe it may have been you. I don't know.
No. I think I was around. There was over 100 members when I got in. I was late.
Really?
Mark Oglesby's the one that got me in. The great Marco. Who has worked with everybody. I can't even know who he's with right this second, but he's been with Lady A, Post Malone, lots of people over the years, but great tour manager. And I met him up in Detroit. We did an acoustic thing for the radio station up in Detroit, and Joey G was there, and they had known each other, and they introduced, and he's like, this is Justin's new road manager, took over me. This is JR. And he instantly said, I got this group text I need to get you involved in. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know anything. And once I realized what it was and see the other hitters on there, I'm like, oh, man, this is great. Yeah. I wish I had this 20 years ago.
No kidding. And such a small world, too.
Small world.
Of those names that I do know. I knew who they. It's like, all right, this is so amazing. And just to kind of be, again, we get back, it's like when we're out there and we're not running into people we know, or we're doing there's no necessarily tour going on, and it's just one-offs or whatever. It's like you just feel so unconnected to people in that side of the industry, and it makes me feel like I'm more connected. If I don't have any questions or anything, it makes me feel like I'm more of a part of the community. So I appreciate being invited in.
Yeah, and it's a good thing too for to fill spots for people. I've passed things along to other people that needed jobs, or they got an opening for a production manager. We got a new, we got a lighting guy that is coming off the roads. Anybody need one? It's a great networking thing for our our business. And I'm the same. When I see the names on there, I know them all. When I see somebody get added, I'm like, I can't believe they're not already on here. And it's just so many you don't know. And then but I haven't never announced on there that I do this podcast, because I don't know if I don't know if the group would approve or not. I don't know, but because how it is. Sometimes you don't want to give away the inside. I saw a thing like Roadie Monday, which is hilarious, on Instagram. If you want to know what the music business is like, go follow Roadie Monday on Instagram. But they put, should I start another podcast about music? And everybody's like, absolutely not, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I had to. I'm trying here. I'm going to do it. So I don't know if they would if they frown upon it or be happy to, but I've asked a few people on there. There's so many good ones on there. But it's hard to nail down schedules, and things with people moving. But I'm hoping to get a lot more of those guys and gals on here. It's just a great resource, and I love mentioning it because it's I don't want to let it go unnoticed that how appreciative I am to be included in that group. And it's probably 160 of the best tour managers in the world, you know.
Yeah,
and one of
there's
them,
a lot of notables in there that rise right at the top, and I'm like, wow, I'm kind of proud to even be in the same chat group with this person. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, I work for Justin Moore. And they're like, who you out with now? I do Beyonce this fall. I'm going out with that Lady Gaga this spring, and then we're going Bruce Springsteen to do a few shows for Christmas. I'm like, oh, sounds fun.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I got a pet fox.
Yeah, right. But you think about it.
I got nothing.
The tour, I was talking to buddy Kev Dino recently, Cameron Marlowe's tour manager now, and he used to play guitar in a bunch of different bands, great guitar player. And I saw he was just TM, and I said, you playing guitar in TM? No, I'm just TM. And I was like, really? I was like, what led to that transition? Man, I love playing guitar. A lot of guitar players, a lot more guitar players than there are tour managers. And I was like, that's a good point, because you think about it, there's not an overabundance of us, and any of us that are up to, or have done this at any level, usually have a gig, or there's just not a lot of extra tour managers. It's kind of like great college football coaches. I say, well, there's not just 6 or 8 of them sitting around at home waiting on a job. The good ones are working.
Well, you got to be about halfway mental though too. So I'm not.
Yeah, right.
Mental in the head, speaking for myself. But that's a great. He made a great point there, and that's the same story. Moose Brown, the great, fabulous session player,
absolutely,
big
songwriter, everything else,
somewhere, and many other notable hits and everything. But Moose is is still a phenomenal guitar player. Played guitar on the Seeger tour when that was going on. That's how good he is. Yeah. But in town, his notable session work is all piano, and that was what he said. He realized when he got into it, he was still getting all the calls for guitar, but he was like, there's so many great guitar players. And he said at the time there were good piano players as well, but not as many. And he said, I was just thinking of where I could get the most work at. And he said at that time, I just gravitated towards the piano. And it's like, well, I would love to be able to gravitate towards an instrument like you just did and change courses and still be playing on all these hits. But
go be an A-list session player at it.
Be the guy, one of the guys that are called. And but that's a great mental way to. It's just a great way to process the business and to look at it. And if things are not opening up or going just how you sit, change gears, go this direction for a while, and who knows? I don't know. I'm quite honestly, I miss playing. I miss it dearly. But right, and maybe one of these days I get back, have the opportunity to do it. But right now I'm TMing, and I'm still around the music. I'm still around musicians who I understand and one of the road dogs, and here I am still scratching and clawing, trying to figure it out.
And you're still doing your own music. You're still writing. You're still recording. So
I do. I get in it, not near as much as what I just simply for the time. And it's not only from the professional aspect of it, but it's also having a 17 and a 13-year-old that we're trying to make all the ball games, all the dance competitions and everything else. And then, hey, if I have some downtime, me and mom are still people. We want to, let's go get somewhere away from the music business and just chill out if we have that opportunity. But I went to a bluegrass festival with my family. I guess it was a couple weeks ago. And bluegrass festivals are great because everybody takes their camper there and you take your instruments, and it doesn't matter what level of musician you are, there's probably a little jam session going on outside that camper. And it was good to see not only so many friends and people that I hadn't seen for years, adults, but to see their kids or maybe their grandkids picking up instruments. And I'm going, wow, this kid's got something special here. Yeah. They may not want to do it more than this, but it's like, I looked at my wife and I was like, okay, what's that person? Or we've got to remember who that was, because in 10 years, we can say we possibly knew them, saw them, just starting out and getting enthralled with it. And it was fun. That sparked a fire that I once had with it as a kid. And I saw that in their eyes and it made me feel good. So,
Absolutely.
and it was good to get out and grab a fiddle and a mandolin, and we even climbed up on stage and did a few songs, and of course did some picking around the campground. So it was nice to get these working again, trying to get them to work.
Oh, I bet. I bet it was. Well, I want to get into some stories and stuff before we get out of here too, but I want to start running down, because I know you've got other things to do today, but I want to start running down some of my questions I ask most all guests that come on to the show. First, I need to pull this up. What is your birthday, Justin?
To February 22nd, 1974.
2/22/74. All right, let me plug this in my little machine here, and then I'll go to my other questions and come back to this. Oh, this is a good one too. We mentioned earlier about different people on the road. Is there anybody that you would either consider would be your mentor, or just favorite touring person that you really learned a lot from, that helped you get to where you're at, or you miss touring with, or who's one of your favorite people you've ever toured with? Or who was a great mentor that you really took a lot away from?
Artists or band members or crew members, or just anybody just in the business?
Anybody in the business.
Oh, like I said, I mean, the conversations we could have about Roy Clark, and just being able to sit at the table with him and talk. That was, undoubtedly that'd be cool for anybody. And it was certainly
Absolutely.
Cool for me too. But, I've got dear friends. I mentioned Sid Pierce, that was out with Roy he worked for Roy for many, many years, dozens of years. I don't even know what it was. And Sid and I are still longtime friends and talk pretty regularly. Roy had a drummer, James Engel, who is potentially one of my dearest friends. And you got those guys that you can call up and you can go down the deep, dark rabbit hole with them and go, right, dude, this is going on. Tell me what they'll help you look at yourself in the mirror is what I'm saying. It's like,
right, absolutely.
I need to be, hey man, you need to just deal with this, or you need to like tighten up the bootstraps, put your head down and plow, son, because that's what you got to do now, type deal. Those are your diehard friends, or they'll just simply help you get through something and just talk it through. So yeah, James was always good for me. And James worked with the Gatlin brothers. He worked with Roy Clark. He worked with, he was oh my gosh, comedian, great guitar player, Jim
Lauderdale?
No, I can't comedian? Think. He was comedian, had the game shows and all the stuff in LA. The name's eluding me, but did a lot of cool stuff. His right hand man. And
what about play? This is a different one, that because you being a player, I don't get asked. Who was one of your favorite people to ever be on stage with and play, besides Roy, obviously, as like a picker? Who was your drummer, bass player, piano player?
Several notables. I got to spend 2 weeks on stage with Johnny Gimbel. Wow. Playing obviously second fiddle to that. Johnny I've never seen a musician command. He took center stage, commanded the audience and entertained the audience, went up there without a set list, would take requests, and 90% of them not just played, but like nail. But then at the same time, if his band members hadn't played the song, he put his hand behind his back and he'd be throwing numbers. The Nashville number system, he would be throwing numbers for us players to follow along. So he was guiding us and directing, and then like a Bob Wills move, take his fiddle bow and would orchestrate the whole thing of who was, okay, I need a steel right here. I need the piano over here. Justin, you take this fiddle. Or I think he had even developed a code like, hey, you'll either take a solo here or me and you will play twin parts together. And so he was really, really cool.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
One of the scaredest I've ever been on a bandstand, though, was probably Boots Randolph. Like we were in the
sax player, the great sax player,
yakety sax, and man, he could blow
oh yeah, sax. Dude, he was and that was a staple in country music for so many years. That's almost all but gone now is the horn section, which blows my mind because I'm such a huge fan of a horn section. And Boots Randolph was the guy for years.
He was the dude. I mean, he was part of the $1 Million Band. And Roy, I think, obviously I met him through Roy, but I think Boots may have opened up the show and he used Roy's band. Of course, I was on stage with him and everything else. And just talking down the business, not the music backstage.
Yeah.
I was just like overwhelmed and like going, my gosh, this guy is so freaking good.
Yeah.
And then to stand on stage with him and get, you know, I don't know, he may have threw me a ride or a solo here and there, but it was like, you know, you just deer in the headlight look, not wanting to mess up and be able to play with this guy because he was just such a phenomenal talent. But those two guys were good. Obviously, Glenn Campbell was a notable guy that I got to hang out with and was like just unbelievable stories and the instrumental stuff that he did and the way he handled his stuff on stage. Best opener I've ever saw. I went out and I was sat down in the audience and I didn't know what his set list was going in. It was one of the curtains that come, you know, it didn't come side, it come, you know, they pulled it from the top. And show started and, you know, rumbling of the timpani or whatever, and it started coming up, smoke started to bellowing out from underneath it. I'm like, man, what's getting to happen? And then I could see his boots, and all of a sudden he hit the note. It held this note. And the curtain's still coming up, and it got right to his face. I am a lineman for the county.
Oh, it gives me chills. Like, oh my gosh.
You know you are freaking good when you can start your show off with a ballad and have everybody just going, just on the edge of their chairs. Like my hair's standing up on my body.
Mine
thinking
too.
about this. And this may have been 30 years ago when this happened. I don't know, a long time. And I still have that memory. But you know, notables like, my gosh, man, I'll never forget.
And that's Roy. When I'd see videos of Roy doing "Gentle on My Mind," that song still does that to me. His version of that is so good. Yeah,
and Roy passed that when I played with him. He always let me sing "Gentle on My Mind." That wound up being, it's like, hey man, play it. Let's do it. And
man.
I was like, well, no. He's like, no, you sing it. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is just surreal. But then, you know,
there's no ego. He just wanted it to be as good as it could be.
The first time I met Monroe, hey, Mr. Monroe, I play mandolin. Oh, you know, hey son, you play mandolin too? Well, here, play me something. And he hands me his 19, you know, his Lloyd Lower that's in the Musicians Hall of Fame. And if I walk down that hall, where I could bring you a picture of me as that kid holding his mandolin, and you know,
with Bill Monroe's mandolin,
with Bill Monroe and me playing it, and then my dad's in the background just grinning like a mule eating briars, you know. And so those memories of getting, you know, and like you said, we've lost those people, and you just have to cherish those moments. Jim and Jesse, I got to share the stage with Jim and Jesse and the Virginians, you know, and do a couple shows with those. So those were some big bluegrass notables back in the day. And then of course with Roy, and you know, we played the Grand Ole Opry so many times.
Right.
And the people that older echelon that has unfortunately come and gone, and you know, Jimmy
the Oaks, the Statlers, all those guys.
You know, and I worked for Jimmy Fortune of the Statler Brothers.
I thought I was going to ask you about Jimmy, because I'm such a big Jimmy Fortune fan. You know, Chris Fortune, his son, was our merch guy for a while, so Chris and I got to be really tight.
I didn't realize that.
Yes,
awesome.
Chris was out with us for a couple years, and he sang. You could tell it was Jimmy's son, the one they looked just like, and he sang. Chris sang like a bird as well. Because we'd be on the bus late at night riding down the road, and he was a deadhead, and we'd be listening to music, and Chris would be singing. I'm like, God, man, you sing as good as anybody. He said, you ought to hear. Yeah. He go, you ought to hear us at the family reunion.
That's awesome. I tell you what, Jimmy Fortune is one of, you talk about a great human being. I'd fight a grizzly bear for Jimmy Fortune. He is such a great man.
And just in his probably, I mean, just as I could go on for days on my how much I love Jimmy Fortune and his voice and just his persona and his whole his bag, what he brings to the table, just phenomenal. And being the young guy in that outfit and just getting picked up out of a bar. But I could imagine during that era too, because you mean this is still the height of everybody's still around. Everybody's going to the Opry, and the Opry's and it's still a big thing. I mean, it's resurgence now as much as it was then, but I mean, you were just really rubbing elbows with. I mean, Waylon was still popping in there, and Jones and everybody else still at that point.
Well, and you mentioned going and watching Mel Tillis and the Stateside. We did with Roy did several tours. We toured all the way across Canada with Mel, and I mean, we all know the stories of the Statesiders, which there's a great segment for you to try to do sometime, and go down that rabbit hole with all of the stuff, just the unbelievable funny stuff that those guys would come up with and do and get away with, I guess. And but yeah, I'll get off of here and I'll go, why didn't I think of this person?
No, we'll do it again.
But
we'll do it again in a few months.
I've been incredibly blessed to get to share this. I was out at Pebble Beach with Colt, and I look on the stage, and it's Colt, it's Toby Keith. Toby's out there hanging. We're all on stage, and I look over, and freaking Arturo Sandoval is blowing trumpet. And I look over, and Andy Garcia, the actor, Andy Garcia's come on stage and is playing congas. And I got video of this somewhere, but I just simply had to put my fiddle down for a minute and go, I'm standing on stage with these guys, and not only are we playing music, but we're jamming. Like, we're having one heck of a time here.
Yeah,
this is amazing, And there's been some unbelievable times. I think Kenny G was on stage playing sax, and that may have also been the show that Michael Bolton popped into and sang a verse of whatever we were playing, and I'm going, holy shit, this is absolutely blowing my mind right now. Yeah. So there's been a lot of great memories, and that I haven't forgotten them. They just always don't pop through my head.
Right. Well, we'll have to come back on later and do just a story show, and with some road stories. So we'll do a whole show just for road stories, and maybe we'll get a couple of other buddies, and we'll do like a 3 or 4 person little forum here, and we'll bounce some stories around each other.
That'd be amazing, and then we'll set some ground rules right before we start.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a good thing about podcasting also. I always pretend everything is live, but this is not live. I can't edit this. If we get off in the weeds of something we need to pull out or add in. Yeah, we can fix it in the mix.
You can pull back the reins.
Right. We can pull back the reins. That's what I say. We can fix it in the mix. So we'll just go for it here, and if we need to fix it, we will. Yeah. But all right, so that's just amazing. Favorite venue? What's your favorite venue you've ever played, or memorable?
For me, and I know you've been there, and this may have been one of the shows we were on together. Red Rocks is still the load in. It is what it is, and everything else you can't help. But that's you can't have great things without having a few obstacles. But once you're on that stage and like vibing with the audience and the whole deal, and just it's still one of my favorite. It's still one of my favorite. Absolutely.
Same here. Yep. 100%. All right. So this one, I'm going to do one more here first. Well, I'll do that. Go ahead and go to this one. All right. I do a thing every episode with each of my guests called Birthday Number One. This is the number one song in country music on the day that you were born. So they're leaving. Your parents are leaving the little hospital there in Missouri, out of born in Springfield?
Yes.
So your parents are leaving the hospital in Springfield, Missouri. You got the windows in the truck down, got a brand new, beautiful baby boy in between the seats. Just turn on the radio to hear some good music after a successful day of having a little Justin brought into this earth, the new child of God upon us. And the DJ comes on and says, the number one song in country music this week is, who do you think it was?
In 74 February. In country music?
Country music. Yep. This is country music. Number one in country music on the day you were born. And this is a great artist and a great song.
Is this a solo art? Okay. Is it solo or is it a band? Because
solo artist. And unfortunately, and I'll give you a little hint. Unfortunately, he's left us. My
mind went. This is not my final answer, but my mind went immediately to Kenny Rogers. But that Kenny may have had his. That may have been just a little bit early.
I think it's a little before Kenny here. And man, this guy was so velvet. We've actually talked about him on this show. I actually had. When it was his birthday a while back, I had a friend of his on the show, and we talked.
Been gone for a while? Has he been?
Not been gone very long. Not long.
So not Eddie Arnold. Uh,
and was young when he did this. And the song he did was actually a cover song. I'm assuming it's a cover. I know he did it, but I thought it was on a Haggard album before this, if that helps any.
Was on a Haggard album. Man,
let's see.
It was so.
I don't want to. If I give too many things, it's going to.
Yeah, you're going to give it. You're going to give it away.
He was not. He was
the number one song. Who? It wouldn't have been TG's. No. Oh, I'm just going to have to start guessing at stuff, and I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
Good-looking guy. I'm sure he was a heartthrob in the era because he was a good-looking guy and had that Jackson Brown hair and.
Conway, it wasn't
No, young guy. He was known to ride his thumb places. He may have rode his thumb down to Mexico.
Oh,
Johnny Rodriguez.
Yep. Rodriguez. Okay. No, I wasn't going to guess that. I wasn't. Yeah. That wasn't going to be my guess. But
that I would have thought he was a little later than that. But this would have been right there.
Man, we just lost it. That's been a couple months ago.
Recently.
Weeks ago that real recent that we lost.
I actually had Robert Gallagher from Billy Bob's on.
Yeah.
And obviously he was friends with Johnny, and we talked about him a little during his segment. Yeah, this was only a month or two ago. Johnny passed.
And the number one song was
"That's the Way Love Goes."
That's the way love goes. I didn't realize he had a cut on that. Wow.
And I remember seeing that. I had no idea it was a big number one. I just thought he covered it because I thought it was a Hag song. And then obviously later on, Hag redid it with, who was it? Jewel or somebody did a remake of it. It was Haggard
you
and
might
Jewel.
be right.
I think it was those two who did a remake of "That's the Way Love Goes, Babe. That's the Way God Made." Yeah, great tune, great artist. Johnny Rodriguez, "That's the Way Love Goes." That was the number one song in country music on February 22nd, 1974.
Wow.
And so now you know.
That's the way love goes. After bringing me into the world, Mom and Dad got to hear, oh, shit, that's just the way love goes.
I always say these songs make more sense than you think they do when you say the song. Opie's was "Skip a Rope." Mine is a Conway Twitty song. "I May Never Get to Heaven, But I Once Came Mighty Close."
Wow.
1979.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's really neat how those work out, and just great memories when you think about those songs. Let me put that down so I don't. Way Love Goes. All right, next one I got here is big number in your phone. And it doesn't have to be like the most famous person, just somebody that when you see that number in your phone that you have in your phone, you're like, I can't believe I've got this person's number.
Oh, I don't know. Gollies, I just don't know. I'd almost have to look and scroll down through there. I don't know who I
mean, because you just accumulate numbers over the year, and you'll look down. It's like, why do I have?
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid's number, or
yeah.
or somebody on here's like, I've got Stone Cold Steve, or like I've got the governor of Arkansas. I'm like, what? Just random numbers.
I've got Eastwood's number here in my phone. Let's see if he'll pick up. No, I don't. I wish. Crap, I don't know, JR. It'd probably be you, buddy.
Oh, that's ridiculous. But knowing Colt, I would say go with Colt, because if you don't have their number, you can call Colt and he'd guaranteed to have their number.
Yeah, he would have the number. It's probably some golfers though, honestly, that would be the most. I would think would be the most notable. Then it's like, why do I potentially have Mickelson's number in my phone? And Phil and his wife would occasionally come out to the shows, and I would, you'd get them a seat or whatever. That's a great story. We were in San Diego playing, and Phil took us out to lunch, and then him and his wife came to the show, and I of course set them up in the place we were playing, and had a table and had security, not breathing down their throat, but if they had the knucklehead that went over and wouldn't leave them alone or whatever. And, of course I'm on stage playing and trying to keep an eye, kind of making sure that everything's going well for them and everything. And I get busy working on stage, and I look back over, and this is midway through the show or something, and their table, the table was empty. And I thought, well, maybe they went maybe they got tired and they went on home, no big deal or anything else. So I go back to performing on stage, and I looked down, and they'd got up out of their seat and come right down into the pit and were dancing and having fun just with everybody else that was there. And I always thought that was cool. It's like, I didn't think that I'd first of all get to hang out with Phil Mickelson and get to pick his brain about golf, let alone would he come out to the show and be literally right in front of me having the time of his life with his wife, just hanging out and having a good time in the middle of, I don't know whether these people realized who they were next to in the audience. If they did, they acted appropriate. So, but that was fun. That was a good time.
You just knew they sure did like that Riding Through the Country song, buddy.
Yeah.
Dancing it up to Ride Through the Country.
It may have been Ride Through the Country that they were dancing to.
Me and Justin Steele watch that to get pumped up sometimes before shows. Him and John Michael doing that Riding Through the Country. I love it. I love it so much.
There's a good dude right there, John Michael. Great man.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get to I see his son Walker gets to come out and do some shows with us. We've done a few shows with him lately.
I kind of keep track of him from a distance. That's always been, he's of course the country music lineage that he has been brought up and a part of. You can't help it. It's like from an early on, I thought this kid's got legs here. And he has. He's really put his head down and worked hard and keeps moving in the right direction. So I'm waving the pom poms for Walker.
Yeah, same here. And his cousin Dylan Carmichael.
Dylan Carmichael is also the same deal. Yep. It's always good to run into those guys and see them still doing well in this business.
Absolutely. Well, the last one I got here is Mount Rushmore, and I bet you're going to have a good one. Who's your Mount Rushmore of music? Doesn't necessarily have to be country, just music in general. Justin David's Mount Rushmore of music.
Haggard is undoubtedly number one, just from the showman, live and the recording aspect of stuff, songwriting and playing. I think that's, he's got to be up there. I'm going to put, Roy, just because I can't leave Roy off there. Glenn Campbell would be, and these are guys that encompass so many things. I mean, if you chop 2 or 3 their musical legs away from these people, they would have still been on top of the world.
They'd still be Hall of Famers. Yeah.
They would still be Hall of Famers. They would be as a songwriter, as just an entertainer, as a singer, as a musician, in this, Glenn, it still blows me away that people don't know his work with the Wrecking Crew out of LA and the Beach Boys. And that's the career in itself, let alone his TV career and his country music career. And
then bridging things by bringing the Alan Toussaint songs from New Orleans and putting them on these big LA records and bridging those gaps, him being from Arkansas and connecting with Louisiana and being out in California. I mean, just unbelievable.
It blows me away. And then of course we still got one more. We got one more that I got to come up with there. I mean, who doesn't like Jones? Me as a fiddle player. I mean, you got to put Charlie up there. I mean, that's those guys. There's a ton more.
Charlie Daniels is my number one of all the people I ever met in the music business. Charlie Daniels still goes down as the one. I'm just humbled and appreciative I got to spend any amount of time with Charlie Daniels. He was just as good as gold. I wish he was here now. I used to make party. We'd be at a festival. I'd say, John, watch Charlie. Like, what do you mean? I was like, watch him when he comes off the he said, well, they're done playing. I was like, I know. Watch him get to his bus. Just watch how he acts. Just watch what he does. Watch him leave the back of the stage. Watch him make his way to his bus. That's pro level. That's master class on how to be the top dog right there. And he epitomized everything that's good about our business.
He was one of the most well-spoken human beings I've ever got to be around. He really was. And when I had an accident with my fiddle got really, really tore up one time because of something that's stupid that I did. I won't go into that, but it's my own fault. But Charlie caught wind of it, and I had a backup fiddle, and but Charlie caught wind of it and sent me one of his fiddles to bring out just to make. And hey, he just wanted to make sure I heard what happened to your fiddle, making sure that you got a tool to go out there and do your work with. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Yes. And he was that guy.
That
He
guy.
was that guy.
I'd say the people always ask like a rock star moment, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I've drank with Leonard Skinner and I've partied with this one or that one. Yeah, that's all cool. But the number one moment that sticks out in my head is standing on stage at the Ryman Auditorium for one of Charlie's toys, kids Christmas for Kids charity things.
Yeah.
Justin, he asked him to come do it one year, and we went over there and did it. And I'm standing side stage on the Ryman. My buddy Justin's out there singing a song. I'm standing there with Charlie Daniels and Charlie Chase from Crook and Chase, which I grew up watching, loved Charlie and Lorianne. And I'm standing there in between them, and they're starting to talk, and I start trying to ease back out of the conversation. And Charlie looks at me and says, "What do you think about it, JR?" Blah. It just brings me back in the conversation, and I'm just like a punk kid. Well, yeah, I mean, I still felt like a kid. This would have been 2013, 14 maybe. But I I didn't even know what to say. And I was so – it was so awesome him to include me instead of a lot of times, like I've told other people, like Hank Jr. is one of my favorite of all time, but he looks through me to talk to Justin. I don't exist. I'm not a person. I don't exist. I'm not – and which is fine. I shouldn't in Hank's world. But Charlie Daniels was not that way. Charlie Daniels made sure to include me in the conversation. And that's the biggest rock star moment in my life, was having a conversation with Charlie and Charlie on stage at the Ryman while my buddy's up there singing a song, raising money for the kids in Middle Tennessee. It was an amazing moment. And Charlie, like you said, he was just that type of person. He was just a kind, sweet person, but pro level and could get it done and had the grit. I mean, just hit the total package there. And his book's amazing. I read a passage.
Oh, it's awesome.
When we get done, I'll read a passage out of my book here that I do every week. And
you put that on your Instagram story, and I love seeing that. And I have that book, and I've reached, and I need to go through it every day, but I don't have to, because you put that up there and I read that stuff.
Well, he did it on Twitter back in the day. He would do it every day on Twitter. He would put one out every day on Twitter back in the day. Yep. And I just thought it was so cool. And then when I finally got the book, and then when he passed, I thought, well, I'll honor Charlie by keeping his legacy alive doing this. I know his family and CD Jr. and those guys and his wife, they all do a great job. But I thought, as much as he means to me, this is if nothing else I can do this, and hope it helps someone, because it sure helps me, and it's just great.
Well, I'll tell you what, just talking to you about that stuff right there is a blessing in itself for me right now, and with what I'm going through and everything else. And that's really cool. And Charlie was one of those type people, and I know he's helped people with addiction and through that type of stuff, and he never and we know these people that it's the same people, and it's like that takes a big person, and obviously for somebody to get through the people that are struggling with that, to look towards him, and him to always have the right answer, and that was just such a gift, and it was such a loss for us. I mean, we're talking about national treasures here. We're not just really talking about we're talking about human beings, music aside. And right. I still on occasion will go back and Google YouTube Charlie's I don't know whether it was the eulogy speech that he gave, but it was a speech that he gave at Jones's funeral on the Opry stage. And the way he commanded that stage in that moment, and the speech that he wrote and presented, the way he wrote it, the way he presented it, to me, that may be one of his greatest performances of all time, was at a man's funeral. Just right. The way honor of George Jones. And I just had this, it's uncanny, but I just had this conversation with Jimmy Herman yesterday about that speech, and Jimmy hadn't heard it. And I was like, dude, you got to go. And because Jimmy, the fiddle player for Rodney, and right. played with Carrie Underwood, and great dude himself. And we go down the rabbit hole of just great human beings. And I was like, man, you got to check that out, because it was just one of the many great things. So we could go on and on about Charlie and Glenn and all those good guys. So such great people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do it on the next episode. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate you spending some time with us. I know our audience out there will love listening to this, and they're going to spread the love, passing it around to anybody else who may find it interesting as we do. But man, be safe out there on the road, and I hope we get to see you do another show together soon.
I do too, JR. Thank you so much. This has been a blast, and I know we've had to have been on here for a while. It seems like 5 or 10 minutes, though. It's just went by too quick.
2 hours went by pretty fast, like a Joe Rogan episode.
You talk about your deal with Charlie. You putting that stuff up and everything else, it's kind of made me go back, and you just said spreading the love and everything else. But for every show that Roy always did, at the end of his show, we'd get off stage and he'd sign the audience off. He'd say, "Hey folks," he's like, "do something nice for somebody. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just smile at them, say hello, hold the door open for them. You don't know what's going on with their day." And he said, don't wait around for a thank you, just because when you're by yourself, it's going to make you feel good. And you never can tell, just smiling at somebody, it may make them feel good, and they may pass that along. They may pass that along, the next person. And he said, before you know it, everybody in this world's doing nicer things for each other. And he would always end off, "And that's for love."
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, safe
really
travels,
is.
buddy. Tell Rodney and Rose and everybody out there on the road with y'all's road family we said hello, and we'll see you soon, brother.
Pass it along. Take care, man. God bless you.
All right, brother. See you. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation I had with my friend Justin David, now tour manager for Rodney Atkins, former fiddle player for Colt Ford, and as you heard, long tenure playing fiddle for the great Roy Clark. I mean, just what great stories. I just love Justin so much. What a great guy. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I didn't push the record button. But I wanted to make mention before I get off of here and read my page from my Charlie Daniels book today, that just some mentions from the road this past weekend. I wanted to say that it was great to run into my buddy Drake White. If you're not familiar with Drake White's music, please go look him up on all music forums. He's been rocking and rolling for a while. He's out on Riley Green's tour right now. Drake's an Alabamian like I am, and we've known each other for a long time, since we were in the van days, doing shows with Party and him. And he was so good this past weekend. He's had health stuff. He had the stroke several years back. Bounced back. Man, his show is so good. He commands the stage. His voice, his just presence on stage. Songs are great. Some of our younger crew guys and gals were just so blown away how good Drake was, and I just didn't want to go by this week and not mention how much fun and how glad I was to see my brother Drake White on the road this past weekend. So y'all, that'll be my music for the week. If you want something to listen to, go listen to some Drake White music, and go listen to that Roy Clark Gentle on My Mind too, that Justin and I were talking about. Just any Roy Clark stuff is so good. Also want to give mention to my little nephew Jack Mills, who's out there rocking and rolling. Got to play some shows this past week with Jamie Johnson out on the road. Got to play the Ryman with Jamie for Jamie's 50th birthday party they had at the Ryman last week. Jack's rocking and rolling with his band. He's out playing with Miles Morgan most of the time these days. Great outfit out of Birmingham, Alabama. Big future, bright future ahead of those guys in that outfit. But wanted to give some love to my little buddy Jack Mills. He's not little anymore. He's taller than I am now. But one I've seen since he was born, and just really impressed with what he's doing. And shout out to my brother Jamie Johnson and Wally and Arliss and that whole bunch for taking good care of brother Jack. But without any further ado, I'll wrap up today's show. Thank y'all for listening, tuning in as always. Make sure to spread the love, share it with someone you might think would enjoy the podcast like you do, if you do. Leave us some questions, comments, any of that stuff. Instagram, Twitter, at JR the Handler. You can find the JR the Handler show on anywhere you find podcasts, on the podcast app, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. So check it out wherever you listen to podcasts and spread it around. Like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff really helps move the show along. Thank y'all for tuning in this week. I'll leave y'all with this, and we'll be back next week with another episode of the JR the Handler Show. Number 14, doing a day's work today. Don't put it off. Do it now. Don't rest until you do. Proverbs 6:4. Procrastination can be bad enough when it only involves the little mundane things. Everyday task like cutting the grass. But the penalties for that are only an upkept yard and an irritated wife. When applied to your livelihood, procrastination is like a snowball. It can start out very small, but the further it is allowed to roll, the bigger and more cumbersome it becomes. When we were on major record labels, they wanted a new album every year. Now that doesn't sound like a particularly hard task, but when you take into consideration that we wrote our own material and we entailed 10 new songs every 12 months, it takes on a little more gravity. I've always worked a little different than most songwriters. I like to have a band around so I could instantly hear the parts they would play as I come up with them. The upshot was that we would create a bevy of new songs, complete with musical arrangements and instrumental breaks without so much as a line of lyric, and sometimes without a title. So it was my responsibility to do the lyrics, which, when you have several sets of words to write and a little timeline looming over your head, can seem a little intimidating. I always delivered on time, but I procrastinated. I was fortunate I was always able to get it done in time, but in so many instances, if you leave today's work until tomorrow, you'll probably never really get caught up. You've just combined today's problems with tomorrow's. This means you won't have time to devote full attention to either. The old aphorism about not putting off until tomorrow what you can do today is just common sense. Let's all make the day count.